Morning, everyone, and welcome to this solemn dedication for Joseph F. Kinnon for this Memorial Square dedication today. My name is Kevin Jarvis, and I'm the Director of Veteran Services for the City of Malden. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, if you please come to attention, we will say the Pledge of Allegiance in honor of Joseph Kinnon and all those that fought and died under this flag.
Present up!
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Joseph F. Kinnon was born in Malden to James Kinnon, sometimes called Walter, I think it's James Walter, and Alice Stafford on September 22nd, 1917. At the time, the family was living at 80 Wentworth Street, not too far from here. And he was one of 10 children, and also one of 7 who served in uniform during World War II. His brothers and sisters were Albert, U.S. Army, Robert, U.S. Navy, Frederick, James, U.S. Navy, Richard, U.S. Army, Lawrence, U.S. Army, we all miss him, the last one, Eleanor Tuxbury, Clement, U.S. Navy, Connie Pereira, and Virginia Morley. When Joseph went in the Army, and the family lived at 64 Adams Street, not too far from here. And at one point, that duplex that they shared with the McNaught family had 11 blue stars, meaning 11 members of those two families were serving overseas during wartime. Those blue stars hung in the window, and I have my dad's in my office at City Hall, signifying that that family had most of their sons overseas and daughters in some instances, and they may or may not come home. And it's just amazing to think of that, 11. The 3 separate Kinnon clans in Malden also proudly displayed 14 blue stars during World War II. So you can see how big the clan is, and I can see just by looking at you how many descendants there are here today. And I'm sure there were others maybe don't live around here that couldn't make it. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please welcome your mayor, a staunch supporter of veterans, son of a Vietnam veteran, Gary Christenson.
In little less than an hour, we will gather in Malden Square for our annual Memorial Day Parade, and we will walk to Forestdale Cemetery. While at Forestdale, a ceremony will take place to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. When I look around at the crowd each year, I see people bowing their heads, placing their hands over their hearts, or looking up at the sky. But I get the sense sometimes we really don't know the who part. That is not the case this morning as we come together to pay tribute to someone who gave their life to protect our freedom. Army Corporal Joseph Francis Kinnon was killed in action on July 30th, 1944 in Normandy, France, while serving as a medic. For his service, he received the Presidential Citation for Bravery under Gunfire and was awarded the Purple Heart Citation and the Purple Heart. He came from a proud family of heroes with 6 brothers who answered the call to duty during World War II. Albert, Richard, and Lawrence served in the Army, and Robert, James, and Clement were in the Navy. Each of them stood as pallbearers for their brother's funeral. Joseph is buried at Forestdale Cemetery, and within the next hour, when we pay our respects to all those who made the ultimate sacrifice, we will remember Joseph Francis Kinnon as the who that courageously put their country first so that our freedom, values, and all America stands for remain protected. Thank you. I would now like at this time to recognize some of the elected officials who have joined us this morning. First, we have former Mayor Jim Conway. Representing this neighborhood, Ward 2 City Councilor Paul Condon. Former Ward 6 City Councilor Neil Kinnon, cousin of Joseph Kinnon. Representing us on the school committee from this neighborhood, Rob McCarthy. And finally, our state representative, Stephen Ultrino.
At this time, I'd just like to ask Steve Ultrino to come up and say a few words, because no one epitomizes Edgeworth more than Steve Ultrino. Steve?
Thank you all for coming today, and I'd just like to give a round of applause to our Veteran Service Officer, Kevin Jarvis, who is really one of the best. In Massachusetts, we require each city and town to have a Veteran Service Officer, which is one of the only states in the United States to mandate that, so that our veterans are honored and protected in case they need any services. So Kevin and Martha, who really helps you in your office, thank you. And I want to thank you all for coming today, especially to the Edgeworth section where I proudly represent and live on Adams Street. And to the Kinnon family, thank you for all of your sacrifices, for all the cousins, brothers, sisters, and relatives that have served our country. Thank you, and on Memorial Day, let us remember all those who have fallen, especially Joseph Kinnon, who really gave the ultimate sacrifice. Councilor Condon, thank you for keeping this going as we dedicate these squares in Edgeworth as well. Have a good day and happy Memorial Day. Thank you.
Council Lodge, Steve Winslow's over here too, on my left, a strong supporter of my efforts as well. Joseph F. Kinnon of 64 Adams Street, Malden, Massachusetts, joined the U.S. Army on May 27, 1942. He was trained as a medic and assigned to the 170th Infantry Regiment in the Medical Corps with the 30th U.S. Army Division and was shipped to Normandy. The 30th Infantry Division landed at Omaha Beach on June 10, 1944, just 4 days after D-Day. Over 1 million soldiers and other units landed at Normandy. They couldn't all land on the same day, obviously, so they came in for the next month, including my uncle, who went in, I think, June 20th or something. By July 7th, 1944, the 117th and the 120th attacked Virey, a city in France, and crossed the Virey-Toul Canal and fought their way to and established a bridgehead at Saint-Jean-de-Dey, which the 3rd Armored Division quickly used to their advantage. As the division moved towards Saint-Lô, there was a German counterattack along a highway. On July 11, 1944, they captured Pont-Hébert on July 14th. On July 25th, the division drove beyond Saint-Lô during Operation Cobra. Joseph Kinnon was killed in action on July 30, 1944. The next day, the division was able to capture a well-defended Toigo due to the sacrifices of many men like Joe. Joseph was initially buried in Normandy with a wooden cross and a large military cemetery. You've all seen the pictures. And eventually, that cemetery would become the one we know today with the nice white crosses and Stars of David. And there's over 10,000 Americans buried there. Though initially buried at Normandy, the family later brought Joseph's body back to Malden. When Joseph's body was returned to the United States and arrived by train in Malden, his 6 World War II veteran brothers, Albert, Richard, Lawrence, Robert, James, and Clement, met the train, and they carried the casket. They were pallbearers in the funeral. Joseph Kinnon rests in peace today in Forestdale Cemetery, where we will be in probably an hour and 15 minutes, alongside thousands of his fellow veterans from Malden and other cities in the Boston area. It is men like Joseph Kinnon and the rest of the greatest generation who inspired the next generations, like myself, to serve in the military. Malden lost 239 men and women during World War II. They would lose another 17 in Korea, 19 in Vietnam, 1 in Iraq, and 1 in Afghanistan. Not to mention the countless men and women who were injured in those wars. Joseph received the Presidential Citation, the Purple Heart, also the European African Campaign Medal, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal, Combat Action Ribbon, the American Campaign Medal for World War II, World War II Victory Medal, and other awards. Joseph Kinnon comes from a distinguished family of veterans, hardworking Maldonians who helped build this city. About 6 months ago, Ann and John Webster reminded me that the city did not have a memorial in honor of Joseph Kinnon. That is no longer the case. Today, we have many of Joseph Kinnon's family with us today, and I want to thank you for coming far and wide for this dedication. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me today as we officially dedicate this Joseph F. Kinnon Memorial Square. And forever, when people pass here, they will think of those 7 brothers that served in World War II and the one that didn't come home. I want to thank our Malden Police Honor Guard, Scott Carroll, Mike Castelletto, officers Killian and Delaney. Oh, Scott Carroll and Mike are sergeants. I didn't want to leave that out, because I was a sergeant in the old days. So just remember, days like today on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and every day, Joseph's dedication to duty, his sacrifice while serving his nation at Normandy, which took his life in World War II. Joseph and his 6 brothers were part of the greatest generation, to include 8,139 Malden men and women who served during that horrible war. Those young men and women, and they were all young pretty much, saved the United States and the rest of the world from total disaster, which had inflicted cruelty and oppression worldwide. The Kinnon family and the community of Malden recognized his service and the fact that he gave his life to defend them during this country's darkest hour. Joseph Kinnon did his best for his fellow soldiers as a medic and for his country, and his family can be very proud of him and his 6 brothers. Thank you for coming out today, being part of something special as we honor Joseph F. Kinnon's memory and service to our nation.